ye foul beast of the morning meal! I break no fast with ye! Rice crispy frosty coming soreless on the silly skimmed. The power of Crispies compels you! The power of Crispies compels ye!
Though you say you like bad boys, well, run away while you can.
Okay, you're gonna have to move. Your reflection is in the pinball machine.
I'm eating.
You need to stop.
I'm busy.
I am trying to do an award show that is like bigger and better than the game advertisements. I've got to make Keely see this and seethe with jealousy, and you can't sit there eating chips.
What about chicken nuggets?
Or chicken nuggets.
Oh, come on, it's your best list. No one cares.
Hush.
If it was next week, I'd move.
Well, I was going to bring on Gorzak and everything. He's a big hit, right? Special celebrity guest. What do we reckon on that? Anyway, welcome to the Jimquisition Game of the Year Awards, where we look at the top 5-est games of the year and just tell you about them like they're the ones that I liked. So, let's crack on! When you think of impeccably written, comprehensively engrossing, ambitious RPGs that are both tightly packed and just expansive enough to feel like a true adventurer's journey, one of course thinks first and foremost of Infinite Undiscovery. A close second would be Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios' massively successful Dungeons & Dragons adaptation was a seminal classic on arrival, and not just because it was literally all about semen. I mean, you know, between the massive amounts of glorious gay sex and the fact you have a tadpole waiting to hatch inside you, Baldur's Gate 3 is just one huge allegory for cum. Right? That's the read I got from it. Dungeons and Dragons, more like hard-ons. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just a game about splatter batter though. It's perhaps the most impressive replication of a tabletop RPG a video game has ever attempted. Larian released the full version of this game months ago, and yet I remain thoroughly thrilled at just how damn authentic this thing is. As far as the baseline D&D 5th edition goes, every class is represented, every spell is usable, all the potential actions and strategies, all the perks, and all of it with little in the way of compromise. On top of that is a bloody fantastic script that balances the themes of self-determination and sticky thick love pudding. Its cast of characters is full of diverse, affable people that one struggles to sort into an adventuring party because they're so friggin' fun you just want to keep spending time with them. Plus of course we have Karlak, aka the superior lady in red. Eat shit, Krista Berg. Top-tier voice acting carries a first-rate script, helped along by a narrator whose enthusiastic descriptions pull off a pretty great forgery of a dungeon master in an organic, live, human-led D&D campaign. Indeed, the sheer wealth of narrative choice in this game is so well executed it keeps that illusion of a living, directly responsive tabletop experience running with aplomb. Oh yeah, you better believe I said aplomb. Every side quest is its own sleekly plotted adventure to the point of hardly feeling like side corn at all. Plus, most importantly, you have options enough in the character creator to play as an elven NB bardic dick girl. Elven NB bardic dick girl. Few games have spoken to me on such a personal level. Not bad for a game about Queen Cock's royal jelly. Oh, and I couldn't have been less serious about Infinite Undiscovery if I tried. Infinite Undiscovery is fucking shit. Karmazoo released too late in the year for other inferior reward shows to count it, but certainly not for accolades as prestigious as mine own. An adorable puzzle platforming politeness simulator, Pasta Games presents a tightly designed game in which you form a team of up to 10 strangers and, with very limited communication, work together and conquer various tricks and traps through unspoken collaboration and self-sacrifice. The central conceit is selflessness. In order to progress as a team, some of the members will need to bite the bullet, performing acts of bravery, such as throwing themselves onto spike pits so their gravestones can be used as safe platforms for others to use. Working together, players will hold doors open for each other, sing to activate moving ledges and other mechanisms, or create a circuit of electricity between themselves in order to spark light bulbs. What's so great about all this is how such an idea could have proven an anarchic mess, but through tight design and mostly intuitive level layouts, teams rarely get stuck or fail to cooperate. There's a ton of unlockable characters that each serve a utility, and I love how creatures like triple jumping frogs or wheel turning mice are joined by such silly shit as a living bell for shattering glass blocks, a teapot that uses steam to highlight hidden areas, and a watering can that makes climbable plants grow. Each one is rendered with a simple, almost Spectrum era art style, while simultaneously communicating a vibrant sense of personality with some gorgeous little animations. Plus, the game's quite genuinely funny in its own silly way. Karmazoo utilises one of my favourite methods of implementing gameplay ideas. Rather than throw tons of different ones at the player, it takes a central element and finds all sorts of unique and varied ways of utilising it, squeezing so much mileage out of an otherwise humble selection of platforming perils and wordless co-op. And through this, there's a ton of emergent potential. One of my favourite moments playing this was spotting a new player straggling from the rest of the pack, and I stayed behind to help them navigate some of the areas they seemed stuck on. The only way to permanently die on a stage is to spend too long separated from the group, so you can sort of do a little rescue. That's just something that occurred naturally through playing, and it's those little moments that really help Karmazoo stick out. It's a shame this one won't get the flowers it deserves, but at least it'll get them from me. Plus, of course, you can play as a duck. So that's nice.
Well, Shake and Vac from Glade is here. It's all you have to do. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. When your carpet smells fresh, your room does too. Every time you vacuum, remember what to do. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. Shake and Vac in 3 fragrances.
It's quite incredible that Square Enix started this year off with such terrible business practices and downright disturbing indulgence in tech bro trends that I seemed to be doing videos on the publisher's latest bullshit every single week. Yet at the same time, this company put out one of my absolute favourite games of 2023. Such is the duality of Square and Enix, I suppose. I'm a big fan of the Theatrhythm games in general, including the arcade game, which you can play in a barcade in Leeds, but for some fucking reason, they decided to turn the volume right down and surround it with what feel like the loudest fucking cabinets on earth, at least while you're playing it and finding it clitting unshit damn listenable. Anyway, your girl's been on the fence about including Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, not just because giving any sort of praise to Square Enix makes me want to be sick into a little bag, but also because it does, in fairness, boast a metric overload of DLC, as one sadly has to expect from music-based games these days. On top of that, some iconic tracks are paywalled in this way. However, there is a ton of content in the base game, certainly enough to justify the MSRP, and I put an obscene number of hours into the thing, so I gotta tip it the nod for being an absorbing and cute rhythm game whose simple inputs belie a complexity that can get really friggin' complex. The soundtrack is obviously incredible because it's a bunch of Final Fantasy music, and once you spend the time configuring both it and your TV to reduce input lag, the combination of button presses and stick flicks are immensely satisfying, piled onto the catchy rhythm content as an extensive party building system with a massive roster of characters to level up and equip with skills, as well as silly cosmetic flourishes like costumes for your Moogle and airships from across the Final Fantasy series. Really nice competitive multiplayer mode and all. February of this year was shit for me. That was the month it came out. I was dealing with multiple awful and temporarily successful smear campaigns. I was stressed to the point of literal sickness, and I was trying to process some traumatic fucking heartbreak. I credit Theatrhythm for being the right game in the right place at the right time to give me something I could throw my brain into and escape with when needed, which was often. It wasn't the only thing, but it was one of the things that helped me cope with a really bad point in my life, alongside winning the PCW Women's title, of course, which I still fucking hold to this day. Eat shit, Krista Berg. No! There it is! But yes, it is impossible for Theatrhythm Barline to not mean a lot to me on a personal level. The fact it's also an excellent game in its own right doesn't hurt matters either. Now, if only the game would get Jesters of the Moon, the best Final Fantasy song on its bloody soundtrack, it'd be almost perfect. Clash Artifacts of Chaos won't get a look in on many year-end honours lists, and frankly, that's a tragedy. This semi-sequel to the bizarre Xenoclash games might have a little roughness on its edges, but it's a grotesquely beautiful game with solid third-person combat that can be modified by playing a simple but fun dice game before fights, with the winner imposing a penalty on the losing combatant. Want to plague your enemy with a swarm of hornets, tether them to the ground so their movement is hampered, or just force them to give you one free hit with a bit of wood? Just win the dice game and you get to do it. It's an absurd concept, but that's part of the point. Clash's excellently written story carries through it the theme of belief in law and how rules influence a society. The world of Clash, a land called Xenozoic, is governed by one law only, fittingly called the One Law. It's convenient. It's an inherently moronic law. Nobody is forcing our protagonist Pseudo or his enemies to disadvantage themselves in physical combat just because they lost at Fantasy Yahtzee. The dice aren't magic, and there are no cops to enforce anything, yet the deliciously off-putting chimera that inhabit this world are drinking debilitating poisons and allowing wild animals to attack them during battle, and what's more, it's outright said that this ritual is crucial for society's upkeep. You see, just one rule, even a rule as arbitrary, superstitious, and stupid as the One Law, makes the difference between a violent but stable Xenozoic and a Xenozoic completely swallowed by chaos. It's a rule that only has power because its adherents believe in its power. It doesn't matter what the rule actually is even, all that matters is that there's at least one rule, a single pillar upon which a violent and unruly society is built. It's the belief in the law that's more important than the law itself, and that's an interesting thing to think about. Xenoclash is a fascinating series with a lot of underrated thoughts on concepts such as freedom versus regulation, and the thin line that separates unfettered determination and self-destructive madness. Artifacts of Chaos really hammers that point home, if you pay attention, and it's a point housed in a main plot that's just plain heartwarming, as Pseudo, a wrinkled, scrotal, alarmingly pubic character, escorts a furry little fella called the Boy through a dangerous world and a conclusion that brought a very real tear to my eye. To say it ain't perfect is putting it mildly. Its lock-on system is janky as shit, some fights feel unfairly overwhelming, and the ritual seems a little too weighted in favour of the CPU, but these flaws only serve as testament to its greater qualities. That this is one of my games of the year despite its many setbacks should say a lot about how incredibly high its high points are. Lovely voice acting, an absolutely wondrous soundtrack, and an evocative art style with unforgettably bizarre character designs seal the deal. I hope one day this game is looked back on as a classic. Probably won't because there's no justice in the world, but I'm gonna wish for it all the same.
Activision, give us your fucking money.
Many games have followed in the wake of Vampire Survivors and attempted to chomp its flavour, and many of them have missed the friggin' point of the game. And I don't just say that because I'm a writer for the BAFTA award-winning title No Big Deal. There have been quite a lot of mediocre offerings in the emerging subgenre of survivor maps, but we've seen some promising gems along the way, like that Diablo one. Ah fuck, I forgot to fill this bit of the script out. Among the massive amount of games I just mentioned, one has stood out to be an absolute winner, and it's a survivor game I've enjoyed perhaps even more than the title from which it drew inspiration. I'm talking about Boneraiser Minions. First of all, it makes jokes about boners, and that's just objectively good. Secondly, it's a visually striking bit of software about being a necromancer whose expanding range of weapons takes the form of autonomous units, rather than the still autonomous but directly wielded projectiles as is standard for such games. I managed to get hooked on this thing after just one run of it. Its gameplay is tighter than a het guy's anus. The variety of both practical and entertainingly strange monsters at your disposal is fun as fuck, and the sheer amount of upgrading you get to do is worthy of applause. And of course, there are plenty of het guys that get pegged as well. It just seemed funny to say. As well as directly upgrading each of the unlockable player classes, you can buy all manner of useful architecture to fill a map, from exploding pumpkin traps to coffins that grant one free minion. I point this out because, cleverly, the architect mode serves as an extra layer of upgrades. Only the bonus traits you're unlocking apply to you externally via the terrain. Then there's the fact you can level up your enemies, adding new waves of opposing creatures that'll add further complications to a run, but also bring with them further XP and loot drops to make you stronger by the end. It's just plain brilliant stuff. You unlock content at a nice swift pace, never feeling like you have to grind for anything. A few different game modes, including an optional card game in the vein of Triple Triad or Tetramaster, only add more to an already robust package. There's plenty of cosmetics too, from colour palettes to a bunch of ridiculous hats. Then there's the wealth of aforementioned minions. Alongside mundanely useful spear pokers and projectile shooters, you got witches that debuff enemies, jesters that transform items and creatures, giant fisters, they're literally called fisters, and a bunch of eldritch demons or blue, gloopy, melded monsters that can be obtained by fusing your various underlings together. I haven't even mentioned the bro-type minions yet, such as the Zombro, who can turn slain enemies into more Zombros, the sentient fruit bros that heal you, or the living pot that reaches into itself to fling smaller living pots and can be upgraded to become a boggling-faced big bro patussi. It's literally called the Big Bro Patussi. Bloody love it. Between its creatures, upgrades, passive relics and active spells, I must echo what I said in my review. Every new find is a genuine and often baffling surprise. Boneraiser Minions can be bloody hard to put down once started. It's fun, it's funny, it's fundamentally terrific. Also, right, it has a fucking Bernard's watch reference in it. Bernard's fucking watch. Come on. How does that not make it one of 2023's most amazing releases? Bernard's watch. The top 5 games of the year as judged by me, like any other judgment, fucking matters. I hope you enjoyed the video, even though, as was pointed out earlier, many of you are anticipating next week's video. The Jimquisition Top 10 Shittiest Games of the Year. I have never been so spoiled for choice. I have never been so torn on decisions. 2023, but well, you know, we'll talk about it next week, won't we? Thank God for me.